The following is a pre-recorded show. Welcome to Winning in Retirement with your host, Brian Akers, certified financial planner professional and founder of Akers Financial Group. Now, helping you win in your retirement, here's Brian Akers.
Welcome to Winning in Retirement. I'm Brian Akers, founder and president of Akers Financial Group. Today with me, I have J. Paul Franco. He's a financial advisor from Akers Financial Group, and he's here this morning to talk to you about maximizing your retirement saving. That's going to be our topic for today. But J. Paul Franco, good morning.
Good morning, Brian. An incredible topic.
It can be, if people just think about maximizing retirement, be just an incredible way to have money for their own future. All right, so I call you J. Paul Franco because why do you call yourself J. Paul? Is it J-A-Y Paul?
Yeah.
What kind of J. Paul Franco are you?
Yeah, most people don't know my first name is not Paul. My middle name is Paul.
Yeah.
My first name is actually Joseph, and you can blame my parents for that.
Yeah.
But they've always, ever since I was a baby, I've always been Paul.
Yeah.
And there's a long story for that, Brian, and I'd be happy to share that with you another time. and anybody who comes in, I'll share that with you as well.
No, but I like J. Paul Franco, MBA, financial advisor at Akers Financial Group. Sounds like just a good business card. It's great.
I guess so. That's not what it's about, but I hear you.
All right, so everybody's out there listening to the radio show, Winning in Retirement. That's what the show is today. Every one of us wants to win in our retirement years. You know, the hard part is that it's our own responsibility. Our jobs, even the government programs, are not going to be enough for our own retirement. We need to save more money. That's why we're doing the show today called Maximize Your Retirement Savings. Understanding your situation and then doing what's best for your family now and into your future is what we're trying to cover today, to make sure you're doing everything you can so that there's money enough for you to win throughout all of your retirement years. So today's show is called Maximize Retirement Savings. We're just going to start with some basic rules, basic ideas, like how do we maximize? What does that mean, Paul?
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and start with that. So I say the word like how. How do people look at this? How do they begin to understand if they are maximizing?
Right. It's a great topic because there's certain individuals that are just trying to get started with figuring out how to maximize their retirement. But then really a lot of our clients here are looking for more ways to be able to maximize their retirement savings. They might be doing it on their own already, but looking for other ways that they can maximize it, whether that be on the personal side through Roth IRA, traditional IRA, but also even through their work, whether that be 401k, 403b, 457, whatever your workplace plan is. Those are some of the just general ones. But it's interesting though, Brian, how it's different for each individual. One might be trying to get started. The other one's, how can I do more? How can I do more?
Right. And so one of the things we want to try to cover today is this. We want you to maximize your retirement savings. Now, maximizing might be what's the maximum the IRS allows, or you might have to think about it as what's the maximum you can do in your budget. And so the word maximize is where we're going to start out. Max, put the most that you possibly can away to your future. That means if we can pay ourselves first, save this money, throwing it to the future, we can then have money when we get there. It also allows us to retire earlier if we choose to. It gives us choices to be financially independent because we've done the work. We've saved the money. We put it aside for us to be able to retire. So let's just go over some basics rules of maximizing from the IRS.
Sure.
So let's start with just IRAs, an individual retirement arrangement. How do they work for maximizing?
Sure. No, it's funny you called it arrangement. Most people think it's account, but it is. It's individual retirement arrangement. So good call there, Brian.
Well, sometimes I like to mess around with words like that.
Yeah, well, the maximum for 2024, which is this year, is $7,000 if you're under the age of 50 and $8,000. They give you an extra $1,000 catch up if you're over the age of 50. So your total can do $8,000.
And that's for the 2024 tax year,
right,
which gives you the ability to actually fund then into 2025 by April 15th of that year.
Right.
But we would not want you to wait. We want you to put money in.
Yep, absolutely.
One of our favorite things to do is for people to save to an IRA or a Roth IRA and do it monthly.
Absolutely.
Have you calculated the monthly amount off of $7,000, what that crazy number ends up being?
Well, if what is it? Is it 547?
547. Let me make sure. I'm going to do my math, make sure I got it right. Oh, 583.
583. So 547 was a previous
was
year.
last year. Yeah, $583.33. I always recalculate just to make sure I didn't get my years mixed up.
You know what's funny, Brian? I have a lot of clients that like just to use plain numbers. So what happens is we do $500 to get to $6,000, and then we use the extra year to put in another 1,000 or two.
Now, if you're over 50, it's not the good year. Guess what the number is for the monthly?
What is it?
666.
Oh, you're kidding me.
That's the monthly amount for anybody over 50.
So what we do there, we bring you down to 650 and we'll max it later.
Yeah. Well, the idea is you do not want to put more than max in. There is a tax penalty for doing that.
Sure is.
So you got to watch that. There are rules. There's lots of rules. Our goal isn't to cover all the rules. It's really the concept of maximizing it. So an IRA, just for summary, could you go over what a regular IRA, a deductible IRA is?
Sure. So you put money into just a regular traditional IRA and you actually get to deduct that on your tax return. So if you contribute $7,000, you get to deduct $7,000 off of your taxable income for that year. Now, what we generally recommend, though, is to start to build out some tax-free money for your future. And so what we like to do is this concept of Roth IRA, where you put that same level in, $7,000 or $8,000 if you're over the age of 50, and that you do not take a tax deduction. You do not get a tax deduction. It is after-tax money that went into that account. Now, because of that, of not taking that tax deduction on the Roth side, that money plus all the growth that happens over time all happen tax-free, which is a huge benefit. So generally speaking, when you're trying to balance, traditional IRA or Roth IRA, we have to work that in your overall plan. What makes sense?
Right. So there is the idea if you have a company plan, then you have income limitations on the deductibility or not.
Yep.
So sometimes people do have to wait until the end of the year to see if they made too much money to see if they qualify for something like an IRA or like a Roth.
Right. The numbers for 2024 are up to the maximum $143,000 for married file joint. And then $87,000 for single, but there's a phase out before that between $77,000 to $87,000, and then if you're married file jointly, $123,000 to $143,000.
All right, so a regular IRA, if you're putting money into there, it can be deductible if you're under those limits, or if you don't have a company plan at all, so you can create your own.
Yes.
Now, if you go over that income level, what happens on the IRA is you can't deduct it. It becomes a non-deductible IRA. Now, tell a little bit what that means, a non-deductible IRA.
Yeah, and this is a lot of times we talk about non-deductible IRA in the idea in the umbrella of a backdoor Roth IRA, which I can go through a little bit. But a non-deductible IRA is money that goes in that you do not take the tax deduction for. It is after-tax money that goes in. And then all the growth that happens in that, you actually pay tax on later. It's basically a tax-deferred type of investment.
Right. Now, you have to track your cost basis on a non-deductible through a tax form called 8606. We much rather you do a Roth IRA if you're eligible to contribute to a Roth.
Right.
So no matter what age, we think a Roth is a great way to put money aside. You pay tax now. That's what a non-deductible IRA does. But in a Roth, you would never pay tax again.
Yeah.
So understanding that is a very valuable point when it comes to your choices and knowing your choices so that you can maximize any of these categories of IRA, non-deductible, or Roth.
Absolutely, Brian. And even on the Roth side, there's income limitations, right? I was just going through this with a client of mine the other day where she does not get an employer match through her workplace plan at all. And she makes in that $180,000 to $190,000 range of base salary plus bonus. And so she's like, Paul, well, what can I do? Should I be putting money into my 401k? I want to build out tax-free money. And generally speaking, it was very much, you can't contribute directly to a Roth IRA. You make too much money. We could go the backdoor Roth route, but you actually have IRA balances that make it not make sense, which we'd want to be able to work through that overall plan with you. So I said, well, if we want to build out Roth tax-free money for retirement, even though you're not getting the employer match through your workplace 401k, we still want to be saving to that account. We still want to build out tax-free money in that type of account.
Which account were you talking about?
401k.
In the 401k.
Correct.
So doing a Roth at her work, even at a high tax bracket.
Correct.
To do a Roth.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So what happened is, excuse me, she has IRA balances. So if we did the backdoor Roth IRA strategy, what happens is the IRS looks at that and says, there's a portion of this that's pre-tax and there's a portion of this that's after tax. If you were to convert that money into Roth, what happens is the IRS says not all of that's going to be tax-free. Only a portion of it will, which that's why anytime anybody considers doing a backdoor Roth or implementing that type of strategy, we'd love to sit down and talk with you and make sure you understand all the ins and outs of that.
Yeah, so a backdoor Roth is another concept of putting money away for those who make too much money to qualify for a regular Roth. And that's a more complex subject. What we're trying to do during this first quarter is just understand some basic how you can do it. You can do it on your own through IRAs and Roths, but you also can do it through your work, through 403Bs and 401Ks and things like that. And one of the key things that I try to talk to clients about is that if they do offer a match at work, what you want to do is maximize your match. So our normal conversation is to maximize your match at work before you save anywhere else so that you get the free money that the company gives you. And that really helps. Now, if you are still eligible for a Roth, you might maximize your match at work and then do a Roth on your own. And so throughout the show, we'll explain why a Roth on your own might have some other advantages compared to one through work while you're actively working. So the idea here is this. The show today is called Maximize Your Retirement Savings. That's the ability to put money away, to put the most away that you can. Now, the idea, first of all, is what can you save? What's the maximum out of your budget? We're going to talk about that more as we continue through the show. But then there's the maximizing based on the rules. Now, IRA rules are about $7,000 for people under 50, $8,000 over 50. 401k, if you're under 50, it's $23,000. If it's over 50, it's $30,500. Just some basic rules for you to understand. Now, at Akers Financial Group, we invite you to give us a call to talk about your situation, to talk about how you can maximize your retirement savings. All you got to do is talk to us and give us a call at Akers Financial Group. You can call us by reaching out at 833-WIN-RETIRE. That's 833-WINRETIRE. It's easy to begin winning in retirement. All you need to do is sit down and talk with us. You can give us a call right now at 1-800-946-7384 to start planning for your retirement now. Or, of course, you can go to our website at AkersFinancialGroup.com. When should you start saving more for your retirement? We'll explain when we get back with more of Winning in Retirement.
You're listening to a pre-recorded show. Welcome back to Winning in Retirement. Call 833-WIN-RETIRE now to schedule a visit with Brian and his team and begin winning in retirement. Once again, here's Brian Akers.
Indeed, welcome back to Winning in Retirement. I'm Brian Akers, president and founder of Akers Financial Group, certified financial planner. Here with me today is Paul Franco, Paul Franco. He has his MBA and a financial advisor here at Akers Financial Group. And today's topic is called Maximize Your Retirement Savings. So far, we've been covering just the basic idea of maximizing what are the maximum numbers, and then the idea of can you maximize your savings? What can you save? What's the maximum that you can save? And so what we want to do this quarter is really get into some of the company plans, and then we'll talk about when you should start saving. So let's just cover some limits, Paul, with the idea of at work. What are some of the limits for people? It could be from 403Bs to 401Ks, if you don't mind covering a little bit about that. Sure.
The maximum limits for 2024 for if you're under the age of 50, if you're putting money into a 401K, 403B, other deferred comp type of plan is $23,000 if you're under the age of 50. And if you're over the age of 50, that amount is $30,500. So they give you an extra catch-up contribution there.
All right, and so that's 401k, and then 403b is through nonprofits. Is it the same rules?
Very, very much similar rules, yes. It's just a different type of plan, exactly, a nonprofit type of plan.
Now, there are some weird rules for the 403b, and that is if you have worked for a nonprofit for a long time and did not maximize the savings, the $30,500 currently, if you saved less previously, there's a way for the plan to calculate an even higher catch-up provision for a couple of years that can really help you put more away, especially in your final years of getting ready to retire. Now, through some small companies, they offer things like a simple IRA. Simple IRAs are usually small business, and they have limitations when it comes to how much you can put into those. And typically in 24, the maximum contribution level is $16,000 for basic. And then if you're over 50, you can add another $3,500, getting you to $19,500 through something called a simple IRA, which is done through a lot of small companies do that.
Yep.
And you do that with a few small companies, right, Paul?
I do. Yep. So the simple IRA is a great option for an employer to allow for contributions that their employees are making on their own, but then matching contributions from the employer. They're incredible plans for small business owners.
Yeah, so small business owner, typically you can say to your employees, you need to do the IRA on your own. You can do simple IRA, the solo 401k, the SEP IRA, and then I think Maryland even has a plan for small business owners also, right?
They do. Yep. So Maryland has a plan as well. It's called Maryland Saves. And so what we like to do before we incorporate and want to fully buy into this Maryland Saves plan that the state of Maryland provides is to sit down with you and see if that really makes sense, or if it makes sense to set up some sort of other retirement account like a simple IRA. Because ultimately, it all depends on what the situation is and how much you really want to benefit and give other benefits to your employees.
Right. So the perspective that you come from, if you're the owner of a company and you want to design a plan that benefits you and your people, then you have to design what works best. Now, imagine that a lot of people are employees. We're employees of maybe government companies, maybe of hospitals, maybe of nonprofits, or profitable companies offer 401ks with matches. And so these are all group plans with rules. Understanding those rules and what you can do through your work are very, very important. So understanding that is very, very good. And one of the reasons you need to understand that is because many of them have changed their pensions. So when should we start saving more money? The answer is now. And the reason we say now is because the plans at work and through different types of jobs have changed greatly, where we can't rely on those for our own pension years.
Yeah, absolutely. There's the old school almost type of way of being able to retire was pension and Social Security, and then our investments would be able to cover and supplement the rest of it. The pension's going away, the question marks around some Social Security, the long-term issues of Social Security. That does mean we need to save more, and we need to save more into our workplace retirement plans, whether that be 401k, 403b if you're in the hospital or school, or 457 if you're in some other type of government, whether it be police or something like that. Ultimately, we need to be saving more for our retirement. We need to be, Brian, you say it incredibly well. You've said this multiple times, is yo-yo. Y-O-Y-O, you are on your own. And that's incredibly true, is that we need to be the ones who are saving for our future.
Yeah, I believe that we have to accept the responsibility, because what's happened in pensions especially is sort of upsetting, in that years ago people used to get a pension and that would be it, and they'd be fine for retirement. That would meet their needs. It would match 70-80% of their pay, and they're in great shape. Nowadays, if your pension covers 30%, you're pretty blessed with a good pension like that. And that's just might be a government pension if you stay 30-some years to get there. Mm-hmm. So the idea of formulating your own retirement plan and having money set aside for those years becomes more and more our responsibility. And that's why you have to understand how you can maximize your retirement savings. Some of this has to do with understanding your budget, but it has to begin with you understanding that you have to save money for your retirement, because no one else is going to be saving for you, for your retirement. Remember, it's your retirement. One of the things about new pensions, new styles of pension, is they've done a lot of things that take away from the cost of living, from the ability for your pension to rise throughout retirement. And as people live longer throughout their retirement years, maybe 15, 20, 25 years, 30-year retirement, will your income keep up? And that's why you got to save other ways to have money for you and your family throughout all the retirement years.
Right. Yeah. It's not maybe just doing the 401k. We could implement some sort of personal type of savings as well that we have to, because the IRS, the government give us these limitations that we can contribute to these plans. If you're able to put $8,000 into a personal Roth IRA, that's not going to be enough to retire off of, likely. You probably need to look into your 401k, put money in there, look at what your match is, and sit down and really try to figure out how can we really build out this overall retirement plan.
And then there's Social Security. Social Security, if you count Social Security only, you're going to guarantee yourself a very low income level for the rest of your life and a near zero inflation rising over time. The reason is because most of our raises on the Social Security system will go to Medicare over the next 15, 20 years. And then there's a possibility in 2034 where if nothing changes in the Social Security system, they're going to have to reduce our Social Security payout anyway.
Sure.
And so these are in our statements already warning us. And so the warning I want you to understand is this: maximize your retirement savings. Save more. Maximize it. Like you can hit the high number. That'd be wonderful. If you can't, maximize what you can save. And don't just think about today and tomorrow and what you're doing with your money today. Think about what you are doing in the future. Prepare for yourself. Throw money to yourself in that future. It's the only thing that we can do to make sure we are going to win in our retirement years is to build that savings now.
Yeah. And if you're sitting and listening to this and you are maximizing your 401k, you're maximizing your personal Roth, we need to look at other avenues to be able to save for our future, whether that be through some sort of brokerage account that's saved for your future or life insurance. There's other ways that you're able to do that. It's ultimately about making sure we're setting aside enough money to our future to reach whatever your retirement goal is, whether it's 55, 60, whatever it is. If you want to retire early, then we need more money. We need more money set aside.
Yeah, so your situation's how it all began. So are you an employee? Are you an employer? Are you a 1099 employee where you're not really an employee? They give you 1099, you got to pay all these taxes and run it through a Schedule C, and all of a sudden you have some net money. And you got to figure out what you can do tax-wise to help yourself out. Then there's the idea of how should you save at work? Should you pay taxes now or take a deduction now? I had many conversations with people on should we do deductible 401k or should we use the Roth options? It's crazy that there are some companies out there that don't offer a Roth option for 401k. These can be rather large companies. They're just not offering them at all yet. But if they do offer it, I think people need to consider. They even have the option at your work where you could do a Roth 401k and then you could have part of it go pre-tax depending on what you can afford. Because your paycheck changes. If you do a pre-tax 401k, if you put in $100, you actually, your bring-home pay gets affected by maybe 75. If you switch it to Roth, all of a sudden you actually are getting hit a lot harder.
Right. You don't want to create a huge tax problem now, but we need to balance out kind of paying the least amount of tax possible over time, which if we do believe taxes are going up in the future, that would say we should be doing Roth, but we have to see where that fits in your overall plan.
And what's neat on some websites for 401k plans, they actually can have an increasing contribution each year where you just set the system where each year they'll bump it up by 1% or so. That's a good way to just make it automatic and make it happen. A lot of people, sadly, what they'll do is they say, oh, I'll do that next year. I'll do it later. I'll set it up later. I'll raise it later. If you hear yourself saying that, you're hurting yourself later.
Right.
Because you're not saving now. The idea is you need to balance the now and the future for you and your family and make sure you maximize what you can afford to save and understand that you put your money away now and let that money grow. The compounding of investments is one of the biggest things, right, Paul?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, you said it so well at the beginning as well, just being able to budget and look at your overall budget and see how much you can afford, because that's going to be the big piece of, can we maximize? Do we need to look to cut spending in any certain situations? Should we be almost hiding money in our 401k away from us so we can't spend it? It's different for everybody, Brian.
Yeah, absolutely. I've found that as you make more and more money, $200, $300, $500, $1 million a year, you maximize your 401k at $30,000 and you think you're doing okay for retirement. The reality is you're not. You got to save a lot more to maximize your retirement savings to try to get enough to even make the numbers work out where you can retire on your own money. The people that are highly successful with money saved have maximized the allowable limits as long as they could in their career, and then they invested it in the stock market. That's how people have been successful. Now, they've also worked with us at Akers Financial Group, where everything we do is about you. Your retirement is as unique as your fingerprint. So when we sit down with people and we talk about maximizing their retirement savings, we need to know what your company plans are, what they're offering. We need to see your paycheck to see, well, what actually are you putting away? And then we talk about it. We sit down and just have a conversation about you and your situation and what would be best for you. You should sit down with one of our team of advisors and have this conversation about how you can maximize or put more away so there is money for you in your retirement years. So go ahead and give us a call at 833-WIN-RETIRE and schedule an in-person meeting with one of our team of advisors. Call us at 833-WIN-RETIRE. That's WINRETIRE. And we'll give you a call on Monday to set up this meeting with one of our team of advisors. So you also can go to our website at akersfinancialgroup.com. If your work does not offer a retirement savings plan, what should you do? We'll talk about this when we return.
You're listening to a pre-recorded show. Welcome back to Winning in Retirement. Call 833-WIN-RETIRE now to schedule a visit with Brian and his team and begin winning in retirement. Once again, here's Brian Akers.
I'm Brian Akers, and today I have with me J. Paul Franco, and we are financial advisors from Akers Financial Group right here in Maryland. We work with people all around Maryland and all around the United States. What we mean by financial advisors is that we advise on retirement. Now, a show like this, we cover topics and ideas, and we try to teach you our process, how we think, so that you'd have a conversation with us. And so if you call our offices and set up a free time with us, we sit down and talk about your situation. Today's topic is called Maximize Your Retirement Savings. That's a great conversation to have with one of the advisors here at Akers Financial Group, is to totally understand what your options are, your choices are, and how you can do the best for yourself. And that's why this show is so important to listen to sit back and take some time and think about what you can do to put more away. Now, here in the third quarter, we're covering the idea that if your work does not offer a retirement savings plan, what should you do? So, Paul, let me ask you that question. The client calls in and the company doesn't offer any plans at all. What do you do with them?
Yeah, that's a great question, because that does happen sometimes where we have to basically look at ways that we can save on our own at home, per se, where you're saving on the personal side for your future. So that's when we're evaluating, well, can we do an IRA or a Roth IRA? Should we be saving to any other brokerage account that's going to be towards our future? And so if our workplace plan, if our work doesn't, give us a retirement plan that we can save to, that means in theory, we're getting more money take home. So we can, in some ways, incorporate that better in the budget to start saving money on the side, on the personal side.
And then sometimes, I guess if you have spouses, you got to take into the effect of who has a plan, right? The husband or wife, who has a plan, who has the best match, which has the best plan, which one has a Roth option. And then you try to balance it that way too, right? Absolutely.
Yeah. And sometimes we have situations where one spouse might be the working spouse and the other one is not. And there's really ways that even on the non-working spouse, you can save money into a personal Roth IRA for her or him as well, even though they have no earned income. And that's because the earned income is on the other spouse's side. So let's call it a husband and wife. If the husband is the breadwinner, you can still set aside money in the wife's Roth account if she has no earned income.
All right. So I want everyone just to think with me for a second. Think about you're retired and you want money to pay your bills, right? So you're retired and you don't want to worry about money at all. You want to know that's all taken care of and the amount of money is the right amount for you. Now, when the money hits your checking account, you're not going to care too much about where it came from, like what's the label on the check. What you're going to care about is that your money to use? And so there's many decisions that tie into this on how you save. Now, if we take a deduction now, that means we grow tax deferred. That means we're going to pay tax later, and that leads to taxation in retirement. If we do something pre or after tax, Roth IRAs, or even the use of life insurance, which we'll cover more later, it's ways of setting money aside that can be tax-free later, which could be what we want and what we needed to do. And then there's things with personal savings where the tax advantage is you put the money after tax, you have a cost basis, If you buy stocks and it goes up, the capital gain is at a lower tax bracket than your ordinary income from your job. So that might be a tax advantage to build your money up. What's nice in retirement is to have choices for a financial advisor like us to be able to say, all right, you need money. How much money do you need? Let's look at this. Look at your taxes. Right. Let's keep you under certain income levels so you don't have extra Medicare premiums and all these other rules that kick in retirement years. By knowing a plan and having a diversified portfolio, how do you get one? By saving, putting money aside.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, a lot of times in people, when they come in and they might have already sort of built out their own retirement plan, a lot of times I've found that people don't really incorporate, well, what about RMDs? And all that IRA balance, that's great. All that 401k balance that keeps growing over time, that's incredible. But ultimately, even if you don't want to take withdrawals from that account, you're going to have to. And so that's through RMDs, required minimum distributions, which depending on what your age is, they're in that 73 to 75 range, 73 or 75. And so what we have to do in an overall plan is say, okay, how much do we want pre-tax versus how much do we want Roth? The pre-tax money is going to be subject to those RMDs. We're going to have to pay tax on that. That Roth money that we set aside will not be subject to those required minimum distributions. And so that'll be tax-free money where 100% of that money is yours. None goes to Uncle Sam or the Comptroller of Maryland. So that's a big part of in an overall financial plan and overall retirement plan is understanding that we need to work out in our overall retirement budget. What's our after-tax budget? What's our net amount of income that we need? Because if we have all our money pre-tax, we have to take that into account. We got to send you more money to withhold tax so that you net the amount that you want.
Yeah, it's sort of a strategy game. Imagine the strategy game is you save the money, you allow your money to work for you, and then later on we got to start using it. And understanding how you distribute money is just as important as getting you to save it. We think almost in some moments it's more important to know how to take money out and to stay within these limits. And so we do manage retirement years by being very careful on where the money's coming from, making sure we save enough and put enough away for taxes and that you're okay. Now, if you're thinking about all the radio shows you listen to, you might hear of all these incredible ways you can never pay tax ever again. And then the idea might be, is that really right for you? And my answer to you is most likely not. It's never one answer is going to be the answer. It's going to be more of a diversified answer is right for you. Understanding what you have at work, we enjoy work programs, especially when they give you free matching. Mm-hmm. The topic this quarter is if they don't give you any retirement plan at all, what do you do? And the idea is this, you got to save money. Imagine that if they don't have a retirement plan, they're basically telling you it is your responsibility. Like we're trying to cover today. It's our responsibility to save for retirement. We need to set money aside, throw money to our future. The more money we make, you need to look at it. Are you saving 15% of your gross pay? Really? I mean, can you? I mean, you got to make sure you can. These plans might not even let you. So you really, really need to understand how to maximize retirement savings. It doesn't all have to be retirement. So what are some other ideas about saving money, Paul?
Yeah, I mean, like we said, saving money towards a Roth, a traditional IRA, but in a brokerage account type of way. We can also save money through life insurance, which we'll be able to talk a little bit more about later. But ultimately, it's all about setting aside the right money to the right buckets of money so that in our future, we can actually draw from the right income streams. So what we like to do is we like our income streams to come from money that's protected and let our money that's invested in the market grow over time. So something we like to do is incorporate, especially on the Roth side, if we're really under the assumption that taxes are going up in the future, then we really want our Roth side to grow the most amount that it can to keep pace with inflation and grow over time and actually use our regular taxable money before, because it's all about, it's this tax game, right, Brian, of what's the best time, what's the least amount of tax that we can pay possible.
Yeah, so here in 2024 and then next year in 2025, we have the Tax Cut and Job Act's tax brackets from 2017, beginning of 18. That bracket is a good bracket. That's about as cheap as we think it's going to get to the future, and we believe in paying tax now, today, rather than postponing it. And so when you're thinking about what to do today with your money and what to do in the future with your money, we're going to have different advice in 2026 than we do today because of this tax law. It's going to change.
Sure.
And beginning of 2026, right?
Yeah, you think they're going to extend it?
It's no. I'm not even want to make a guess right now.
I hear you.
There's elections. There's all kinds of things going on, and as things occur and things happen, what will happen is they'll come up with answers on what's the rules of the game are, and we have to do financial planning based on that. So the idea is that if you don't have the ability to save, if you at work and you want to put money away, there is still some limitations on Roth. There's income limitations. And then Paul mentioned a little bit earlier about something called a backdoor Roth. I wanted to ask Paul just a basic question. Backdoor Roth is for people that, for what reason? What kind of people should consider something called a backdoor Roth IRA?
So the backdoor Roth IRA applies if somebody is not able, because of their income, to make direct contributions into a Roth IRA. So those limitations, if you're single, is $146,000. If you're hovering around that modified adjusted gross income amount, we have to evaluate, can you make direct contributions into a Roth? If you're married, filed jointly, that number is $230,000 for 2024. So the backdoor Roth IRA only makes sense for somebody who's in that higher income tax bracket.
It's still the ability to do a Roth IRA, even with the income limitations. And the basics of a backdoor Roth is that you do a non-deductible IRA, you fill out your tax forms to show that you have a cost basis, and then you convert that non-deductible IRA to a Roth. And that's the way of doing a backdoor Roth. One key ingredient is you want to make sure you have no other IRAs. If you do, then it prorates the process unless you want to convert it all.
Right.
So the idea of a backdoor Roth, it's a topic. If you want to hear more about it, that's one of those conversations you have with us about maximizing your retirement savings and putting some money away. If you can't do Roth at work and you want to try to find a way to do a little bit of Roth, that's what we can do. We have many couples that we do a husband and wife backdoor Roth IRA. We maximize at work. They're saving $60,000 at work, another $16,000. They're just trying to get a lot of money put away for retirement. This happens a lot right after the kids move out, and all of a sudden you realize, hey, I got 10 years to retirement, and I need to save everything I make and everything I will possibly make just so I can retire and be all right. Those are for people who didn't start early. Now, I recommend you start early, start often, save what you can, maximize early. The more you do that, the money will work on its own. You won't have to save as much later. It's a great math, compounding is.
Yeah, it absolutely is.
All right, so if your work does not offer a retirement savings plan, you still can maximize your retirement savings. That's what this quarter has been all about. Now, at Akers Financial Group, we understand that the best part of retirement is getting your time back, where you decide how to use it. Before retirement, your time is tied up with other commitments, mainly your job. A lot of that goes away in retirement. Your time is now consumed by things that you want to do. It's so easy to begin winning in retirement. You go to our website at akersfinancialgroup.com, scroll to the schedule a meeting section, and let us know you'd like to schedule a free consultation. That conversation with one of our team of advisors. That's akersfinancialgroup.com, or you call us at 833-WIN-RETIRE. That's 833-WIN-RETIRE. And we'll give you a call on Monday to schedule your free in-person meeting. Go to akersfinancialgroup.com or call us at 833-946-7384 to start planning for your retirement now. Pay taxes now and never again? Can you really do that? We'll tell you about that in the fourth quarter when we return with more of Winning in Retirement.
You're listening to a pre-recorded show. Welcome back to Winning in Retirement. Call 833-WIN-RETIRE now to schedule a visit with Brian and his team and begin winning in retirement. Once again, here's Brian Akers.
Indeed. Welcome back to Winning in Retirement. I'm Brian Akers from Akers Financial Group, and also from Akers Financial Group is Paul Franco. Today's show is called Maximize Your Retirement Savings. And so far, we've been covering the basics of maximizing what are the IRS limits to put the most you can into retirement savings at work or on your own. And also, can you maximize what you can save? Might not be the IRS limits, but can you maximize what you can do to save? And then the opportunities you have through work. We've covered all these different topics through our talk today. We brought in topics from the 401k limits, the IRA limits, Roth, all of that, trying to bring you the idea of maximizing your retirement savings. All right, Paul, we got fourth quarter. You ready to go fourth quarter?
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
All right, so as we're talking about this, we have to cover the decision of pre-tax versus pay tax now and never again. So let's just cover what does that mean, pay tax now and never again, and why should someone consider that when we're talking about maximizing retirement savings?
Sure. Yeah, well, this idea of being able to pay tax now and never again is so important, and that's through this idea of Roth and tax-free money to your future. What that means is that we're going to pay tax now. We're not going to get the tax deduction now. So if we're saving to a Roth IRA, we're saving to a Roth 401k, the contributions that are going into that account, we are not getting a tax deduction for. So we're using after-tax dollars. You're putting that money into that account for the benefit of being able to grow tax-free. So now if you put in $7,000 in 2024 into this Roth IRA, now that $7,000 that you did not get a tax deduction for, plus all the growth that happens over time in that Roth IRA, all of that happens tax-free. Another benefit is if you do that through your 401k, you can do more than the $7,000. We're now back at that $23,000 limit we talked about before that we could set aside into an account that's going to grow completely tax-free for us. And overall, it's this idea of trying to pay the least amount of tax possible. If we generally, and we do believe the taxes are going to go up in the future, we'd like to pay tax at a lower tax rate and then never again, plus that benefit of being able to get all the growth that happens over time tax-free as well.
Yeah, I like the idea of, you know what the taxes are today, you know what that bill is, you pay it, and then you don't have another one. You don't have another bill. Right. I like the idea of no bills.
Yeah.
I also like the IRA when you look at if you're a 401k millionaire and you're like, oh, wow, I got $1 million in my 401k. Well, really, is that yours?
Right.
If it's pre-tax, it's not yours. It's maybe $680,000, $700,000 is yours, but not $1 million. And so the idea is thinking about what money is yours, and if you prepay the tax and never again, it can be a really great thing.
Right. And there's really only one avenue out there that you'd never pay tax on is an HSA, right? The money goes in pre-tax, the money it grows for you tax-free, you utilize it for a health benefit, it's completely tax-free. And you never have to pay tax, it's an incredible investment.
Yeah, I like HSA a lot. I want people to understand that maximizing retirement savings, the HSA can be a way of doing that. We can't use it for pure retirement. We can use it for our medical expenses and health in our retirement years, which we will have medical expenses in retirement years. I believe will always happen. So the idea is this: pay tax now, never again. A Roth IRA was designed in 1998, and that's been around a long time. And yes, the rule could change, but generally the IRS typically grandfathers things in, which we like that kind of rule. So that means if we ever have to change our mind on it, we at least have some portion tax-free. I think the idea on the Roth IRA with the 5-year rules and all the other things that apply, the sooner you start one, the better. Now, people that are retired and working a part-time job, you can still fund Roth IRAs. There's no age limits on funding Roth IRAs, so you can have a lot of fun with Roth and putting money in tax-free. The idea of tax-free means it doesn't show up as income. That's a big deal when you talk about things like IRMA and any type of means-based testing they come up with later against Social Security.
Right. I was going to say, right now they don't means test Social Security. They do means test Medicare. What's to say they won't in the future for Social Security?
Yeah. Now, let's say you start looking at your work option and they offer a Roth option. What's your recommendation on that for someone?
Yeah, I think it's great to have the workplace option, having the Roth option in 401k. I love to sit down with you and sit down with clients of mine to decide whether it makes sense to do all Roth or do some sort of split Roth and pre-tax. Generally speaking, if we think you're in a higher tax bracket and we really evaluate, okay, our income is going to be lower in the future, despite the increases to potential taxes in the future, I like the idea of doing some sort of splitting it pre-tax, splitting it Roth. And so we're not going all completely one side of the boat, but ultimately being able to balance out the pre-tax and Roth to the future.
Yeah. I was trying to think about, so let's say that somebody's pre-tax at work, should they take the same contribution and go to a Roth? And I would tell them, if you're going to switch from pre-tax to Roth, you will bring home less pay because you now have to pay tax today on that contribution. And so that's an important thing when you're considering switching from pre-tax to Roth, the tax effect, and can you afford that to change your bring home like that? Because you might have to reduce your contribution to make it Roth if you're in a tight budget.
Right. I have a client now that's actually maximizing his 403b and 457 account through work. Both of those all pre-tax, and they don't really have much savings on the side, and so they're almost doing it to lessen the tax bill now. And so it's really interesting what you can utilize and work through in trying to balance out paying the least amount of tax possible, but also not creating a tax problem now as well.
Yeah, so understanding what tax brackets you're in, one of the things we love to see when we meet with people is tax returns to see what are your tax rates now. Does it make sense to pay tax now, or does it make sense to pre-tax now? Maybe your tax rate will drop in your situation. Your financial fingerprint might dictate that your tax rate will be a lot lower in retirement. It might be better not to do Roth for you. But that's become more rare, actually, because we know with the changing Tax Cut and Jobs Act law that tax rates will actually increase in a couple of years to 2026, which is happening very quickly here.
Right. They're big jumps too, right? 22 is going to bump up to 25. And right now we have the 22 and 24. So right off the bat, if you're in the 24% tax bracket, it might make sense to pay tax there if we already know right then that taxes, or sorry, if you're in the 22% tax bracket, paying tax in the 24, slightly higher because it's still going to be less than the 25.
Yeah, the 24% bracket is almost a bracket where you would say, yes, pay tax now, because the 24 bracket can expand to 28 and even 33%, all on the same dollars that you can only pay 24 now. So that's one of the prime areas in planning when it comes to when to consider paying tax now versus later. So the idea of pay tax now, never again is Roth IRA. And the other vehicle you can actually do this with is life insurance. Life insurance, you make up a policy, you put money in. Normally, a life insurance design is where you put money in. You want it to be in the life insurance policy 15 years or longer for it to grow, to be able to overcome the cost of the insurance to where it makes mathematical sense. Now, we've seen it where people sell life insurance to someone as a retirement package, and they're trying to do it in a 10-year period, and the math doesn't work out.
Right.
But life insurance is a way you can put your money in, you can pull it back out. As long as the policy stays in existence, there's not taxes when you pull your original cost basis out or borrow against it. Exactly.
Yeah, and that's a big part of in planning. If we're maximizing what we're doing through our 401ks, maximizing what we're doing in our Roth IRAs, life insurance is a great option to save money to that you'll be able to take out tax-free in the future. We're not talking about term insurance or anything like that. We're talking about universal life, whole life insurance type of policies that we can utilize for income that's going to be tax-free to the future.
Yeah, so life insurance is another way of paying tax now and never again. It's something where you're basically overfunding life insurance cash value, and you're really putting money aside using the current tax law for that.
Yeah,
it can work out very well. I've done a few for myself over the years, and it's a great way of having money on the side for all kinds of reasons. But you got to see what you need in your financial life. We love Roth IRAs. We love Roth 401ks. In the next couple of years, there's going to be some other incredible options that they'll be coming out when it comes to the match, trying to Rothify the match, which is going to be maybe a tax problem. But the idea is this: maximize retirement savings. If you just can maximize what you can save, would be a great beginning. Now, if you are making a really good sum of money, you need to maximize retirement saving, and most likely you can't do it all at work. There might be some other options at work called deferred comp. There might be these things where you sign up a year ahead and you defer money. You need to know all those rules. Yes, we help people work with that to try to benefit ways to save for their retirement. Make sure you're saving enough to live the same life you have now in your retirement years. We don't want to call it short based on how much income we really do need.
Right. And there's other options we didn't even really talk through. There's employee stock purchase plans. There's employee stock ownership plans. There's different ways that you have to look at what your workplace allows and what they provide for you as far as benefits, and help curtail that towards what your financial fingerprint is, how much we should be utilizing in 401k, in stock purchase plan, and Roth IRA. We work through that in the overall plan.
Absolutely. Now, if you have one spouse working, one not working, the non-working spouse can have their own Roth and IRAs, and a lot of people don't do that. It's just another way of putting some money aside. So make sure you really think it through when it comes to who you work with. What we're inviting you to do is to give us a call. You can call and go to our website, akersfinancialgroup.com, or call us at 833-946-7384, which is 833-WIN-RETIRE. When you call us, and you could say, I want to work on maximizing retirement savings, and we'll sit down with you on a free consultation where we talk about your situation and what can you do. And we can really try to guide you through a conversation of what is best for you. What's the right answer for you? You got to start somewhere, right?
Absolutely. It's so important. You have to start somewhere, and it takes taking that first step to say, okay, am I really maximizing everything that I can for my future? And so we want to help you work through that.
Absolutely. Now, we thank you very much for everybody for listening to the show. What's great about the Maximize Your Retirement Savings show is that all of us need to do this. This isn't one that doesn't apply to people. It applies to basically everybody. Even if you're retired, you got to maximize that money, keep it growing. Now, the idea is this. If you've missed any part of the show, you go to our website, akersfinancialgroup.com. Check us out there. You can check out the radio podcast tab and immediately be able to see any of the shows we've had in the past, and even this show right there online. Maximize retirement savings. Thanks very much, Paul, for a good show today. We thank you, everybody, for listening to our show, Maximizing Retirement Savings. We want you to win in your retirement by taking advantage of the opportunity to begin planning with us at Akers Financial Group. Go ahead and schedule your free meeting with one of our team of advisors by going to our website or giving us a call at 833-WIN-RETIRE. That's 833-WINRETIRE. We'll give you a call on Monday to schedule your free in-person a meeting with one of our team of advisors. Start planning for your retirement now. Go to akersfinancialgroup.com or call us at 833-946-7384. Thank you for listening. I'm Brian Akers from Akers Financial Group, and we want you to be winning in retirement.
You've been listening to Winning in Retirement with your host, Brian Akers of Akers Financial Group. Akers Financial Group offers securities through Archedios Capital, an SIPC and FINRA member firm. Advisory services are provided through Archedios Wealth. Akers Financial Group and Archedios do not share any common ownership. Neither Archedios nor Akers Financial Group provides tax or legal advice. Advice given on Winning in Retirement is general in nature, and one should seek further advice from their financial advisor, broker, attorney, and or tax accountant before investing. Be sure to read each prospectus carefully to understand all the risks associated with each investment. Examples and scenarios shared are meant to be for illustrative purposes only. Past performance is not indicative of future results.